What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mike Dolce Show. Today, in-house, we have none other than Professor Lindsay Howard MS, RD, LRD, DDC, CSCS, and my goodness, so many accolades after that name. How you doing, Lindsay?
It's an alphabet, right?
I know. What are you doing? You and Galpin running around just kind of like alphabet hunting. I might actually have to have you on the troll show where I just kind of make fun of all your amazing credentials.
That's fine by me.
I think I'm going to lose that battle, actually, by the way. Yeah. I gain nothing from that. So what are you doing? So right now, where are you sitting?
I am actually in our lab at Marywood where I teach. So this is where we conduct all of our labs for exercise physiology and, lots of cool stuff surrounding me. I don't know if you could see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little metabolic cart over there. Our newest piece of equipment, the Watt bike.
Ooh, have you gotten on that yet?
It's legit.
Yeah.
You can do like a 6-second wing gait on there.
Okay.
Hardest 6 seconds of your life.
I bet. I'm not getting on there myself.
Yes. Very, very smooth bike though. It's nice.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you're up. What town is this again? I'm sorry.
Scranton.
In Scranton. So you're in Scranton. Everyone knows the office, of course. Unfortunately, that is the association, which is great. The theme music is playing in my mind right now. And snow. How's the snow up there? It's perfect, beautiful, sunny Caribbean day, I'm assuming.
Well, it's currently sleeting right now. We're supposed to get like an inch of ice today.
Okay.
So on top of the snow that we already have. So needless to say, I'm ready for like a beach and to sweat outside.
Yeah. I'm in spring. We're just waiting. That damn Punxsutawney Phil claiming spring is still 6 weeks away. Mm-hmm. I might go hunting and make some beaver venison, I think, or groundhog venison, I should say, or groundhog stew. All right. So what we wanted to do today is we want to get into some questions and, of course, chit chat. There's lots of great stuff out there. We always have awesome conversations, and I think we're just going to have some fun. So those listening live right now, we appreciate you guys being here. Feel free to leave comments and questions in the chat. MJ Kraft says, "Hey, Lindsay, it's Molly."
Oh, my gosh.
And is Molly, is this a friend? Is this a client? Or is this someone we need to block? Sorry, Molly.
This is actually, I know there's actually people watching today that will attempt to give me a hard time.
Good. Give her all the hard time you want, everyone.
My boss that I coach for, so the head coach, because I coach college basketball, this is her niece. So okay. She's just hanging out.
Right on. Welcome. Welcome. Molly, and we have Joe Blogs was actually first into the stream. Welcome, Joe. And Mike Seff is actually crushing it. Mike is one of, definitely in the Dolce Diet community, one of my one-on-one clients with huge goals. And actually, Mike, super proud of you and what you're doing out there. We got Mike Mumford in the house. Mike Mumford, by the way, is signed up for the next DDC at the end of the month, the Dolce Diet Certification and Fitness Conference. If anyone wants details on that, click the link below. Lindsay will be teaching a good portion of the nutrition and dietetics section, and that's what we're really going to be getting into pieces of that today. So, Mike, great to see you. We got Russell Harding, who is a Dolce Diet certified coach. What's up, Coach? Good to see you. All right. And then let's say, Ruben, I don't think we're going to go here, Ruben, not today. That's a different show. We're not going to avoid it, but we will go here on a different show, by the way. Chris Ingram. Good morning, Chris. We got AB also registered for the Dolce Diet Certification Fitness Conference, February 26th, 27th, and 28th. But now Joe Blogs jumps in with a great question. What should I drink during a marathon? So, Lindsay, do you have any insight? And he wasn't specific in, is this in the buildup to the marathon? Is this intra-race, literally while he hits mile 12? What should he be drinking? Is it post-recovery? So what are your thoughts on marathon training, running, or endurance athletes, and the nutrition for that?
Right. So the biggest thing is, I mean, obviously it's an aerobic endurance event. So you're going to be using up pretty much all of your stored glycogen. If you consume 0 calories during a marathon, you're going to definitely hit a wall and you're going to be struggling.
Yeah.
So a major thing is obviously hydration pre-race, leading up to it, not just the day before, but making sure you know your hydration requirements and hitting those leading up to it. Also, right before you start, obviously we don't want to chug a bunch of water so you're feeling uncomfortable, but enough. During marathons, I mean, I've only ever ran a half marathon, not a full marathon. I don't know if I can make that.
That was a humble brag right there, by the way, Lindsay Howard. I'm just saying, I will call you out on your humble brags. You and Galpin.
It's easier to talk about it since, you know, if you've gone through it.
Sure.
But I would say like 7 miles into the half marathon, that's when I really felt like I was getting a little hypoglycemic. I felt like I needed to have something more than just water. So definitely important from a hydration standpoint. Depending on the environment also, during a race. So if it's hot or even humid, you're going to be sweating a lot. So talking about the negative effects of hydration, just like a 1 to 2% reduction in your body mass, which is not a lot, via sweat, is going to drastically reduce your performance. So just making sure that you're hitting those water stations as you go. I know they probably have Gatorade and things like that, which is totally fine.
Sure.
And then I would also recommend, some of them are gross, but try them out before the marathon during training. So they make all sorts of different products like goo packets, those power blocks, really anything that's very easily digestible.
Yeah.
Something that you can keep in your pocket or pouch or whatever you bring with you during the race, just to replenish some of that glycogen.
And who was it? Born to Run. Chris Altick. I forget the name of the author right now, but he was an ultra endurance runner, and he was a vegan, by the way. Maybe it was Rich Roll. I apologize, but one of the more prominent vegan ultra runners would speak about making these burritos that he would actually keep in his runner's belt, right? And he like, yikes, in a way, but it was primarily chickpeas. So he'd be consuming chickpeas and whatever was contained in the wrap, whether it was a corn wrap or a flour. I mean, really, calories just matter at that point.
Right.
And this is kind of what he would snack on as he ran these events. And he spoke about, you know, obviously the high carbohydrate content, but also the digestibility. Because it was literally a goo. He just take it, bite it, it'd just be mush, and he would kind of keep on going. And then being that it was close to his body, it was held warm the entire time. I mean, don't know that was ideal, but hey, this is, you know, this is just a thought which kind of aligns with what you're saying. And you're speaking a little bit more about what's currently available, because there's a lot of commercialized products now available for runners. And some of them are certainly fringe, where it's just all synthetic toxic chemicals, lots of gut rot. We've spoken and worked with, you know, marathon runners, endurance athletes that suck down a lot of these kind of, you know, the neon, you know, drinks and goos and all that stuff. And it does cause some digestive issues. Any thoughts on managing the gastric concerns of some of these endurance athletes, even like post-race, because they get through the race, they destroy their body. Nick Baird just kind of, you know, did a sub three hour marathon, which is fucking insane to be honest with you. And then like post endurance event, let's talk a little bit about what's going on inside the stomach and the gut and in the digestive system.
Yeah. Just commenting on Nick Baird, first of all.
Yeah. He's
a freak.
That's a freak for sure.
He's a freak.
Yep.
Looking at his workouts and things like that, he's just unbelievable.
Yep.
But no, so I think the most important thing is a gradual training schedule leading up to the race. So if you're like, oh, I feel like I want to run a marathon, and you just go and do it, you're going to wreck your digestive system. It's the reason why people feel nauseous during high intensity things. Your body's prioritizing fueling your muscles.
Yep.
And it doesn't prioritize things like digestion. So that's why you might feel those, you know, discomforts and things like that. Speaking on the products, I know I'm sure they have, you know, more natural and healthier, so to speak, less toxic, less synthetic supplements to take during the race. But I know I tried the goo packets; they're absolutely disgusting.
Yeah,
they're gross. Making sure you know what your body can handle, so that it's not affecting your performance.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you're just running the marathon to say that you ran a marathon, or maybe you're trying to go for a PR or something like that. Post-race, you definitely want to consume things that are easy on the digestive system. I know a lot of races give you like a bag full of stuff. Forget the bag, you know, have a banana, Slowly introduce. You're going to feel really hungry, so don't overindulge. You're going to feel like crap the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And just make sure that you're continuing on with that hydration.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And sodium too.
Sodium, of course. Working with Cameron Haynes, to name drop for a moment, Cam was running, I forget which one of his races, 100 miles, some up in at altitude, and we were helping him get ready for that. And we were breaking down his diet, like, hey, what do you normally do? Like, we don't want to make massive changes here. We just want to improve maybe what you're doing. He would eat these bacon and peanut butter sandwiches during these events because he's like, man, I can't get in enough calories
to
run these races. So I'm just looking for the most calorie dense foods to get in my stomach, because number one, it's really hard to eat anything anyway. You lose your appetite during the process.
Mm-hmm.
The same time, he's just trying to get in as many almost fat calories at this point, like double white bread. So like, two slices of white bread, top and bottom, as much bacon and peanut butter as he can fit in. It's oily, it's greasy, it's all drippy, but at least he can kind of get it in and then keep on clipping along. I was like, that is not performance food, by the way, but you kind of got to work with the athlete in this situation. Now, on the peanut butter topic, we do have a question from Cyclops, who says, is it fine to eat store-bought peanut butter, or should I stick to almond butter? And there's a few concessions that you have to make here. I'll jump in first. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, peanut is great. Peanut butter, cashew butter, almond butter, like all that's great. What other ingredients are associated with it? Lots of peanut butter that says peanut butter on the front. You turn it around in the back, and it's all synthetic toxic chemicals. It is garbage that you should never, ever feed your children. What are your thoughts, Lindsay?
Yeah, I agree. So if you were to go to like Wegmans or something like that and get just the straight up ground peanut butter for a couple days, even longer, and then you try to go back to like, I don't know, Jif peanut butter, it tastes like crap. It's so bad.
Yeah, agreed. Notice that too.
At all. So peanut butter, almond butter, I don't think it matters, but you're just looking for the most natural form of that, which would literally just be peanuts.
And now peanut butter versus almond butter, a lot of people, they differentiate between the two as if one is bad and one is good, but they don't know which is good and which are bad. It's kind of a common misconception. Peanut butter, almond butter, any difference? Same. What do you like to do?
I prefer peanut butter, just taste-wise. I know a lot of people like almond butter.
Yep.
I don't think there's a major difference. I know when people go to buy an almond butter product, usually it's marketed as more healthy, it looks fancier, it's probably more expensive. But if you're sticking to the straight up natural version of either one of those, I really don't think there's a drastic difference. Yeah,
agreed. And it's what we typically do is we rotate. Sometimes I feel like peanut butter. Sometimes I want almond butter. It's more about variety, although I probably do go with the peanut butter most often. But at the same time, when I have snacks like raw nuts, there'll be more almonds. Right. So I look at it like I'm getting in a wide variety anyway, which matters. Chris asks, what kind of hot sauce can we add to our meals? Do you have any preferences?
As far as brand?
Well, any hot sauce. Now, feel free to take liberties on these questions. Like, get the question and then just answer any way that you feel best. Like, I love is it okay to drink alcohol? Like, no. Or like Jason Momoa drinks beer. Dolce, why can't I have beer then? Number one, you're not fucking Jason Momoa. Like, let's get that out of the way. But anyway, continue. So hot sauce. What are your thoughts on hot sauce? Oh, Lindsay, you might be frozen there for some odd reason. Let me make sure that, and Lindsay, if you're frozen, if you can hear us, just jump out and come on back in. We will be here. Let me make sure that so internet is fine here, full bars here. Lindsay, can you hear us? Can you see us?
Yeah, I can see myself too.
Oh, there you go. Okay, you're good. It was frozen for a brief moment there, but it was a good frozen shot of you, by the way. So it actually looked like a profile pic. So again, hot sauces. What's your go-to? I'll give you my go-to afterwards.
I was going to say, every now and then, I don't usually keep hot sauce in the fridge. I kind of forget about it, honestly. This is like making me want to add it to some stuff. But every now and then I'll add a little bit to something to flavor it up if I'm doing like Taco Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah.
But as far as brands, I'm going to let you take that one.
You know, brands, there's what we found in traveling, brands are rarely national. There's a lot of regional brands, and most of the time the regional brands are more mom and pop shop that have higher care and concern with the products. They're not making the same substitutions as the larger national and international brands are. So we look for more of the mom and pop shop. The next part of that is flip it around and look at the ingredients. That's what matters more than the brand. It's the actual ingredients. And I say that you can tell the core competency of a company when you look at the ingredients. I can tell, are they trying to just make profit, or do they truly care about the quality of the product they're putting out?
Right.
That said, there's some good srirachas that are like organic and non-GMO and fair trade even. So like a sriracha or different types of Tabasco. I believe Tabasco is a brand, but there's different types of a Tabasco style. But primarily, I like to actually just add cayenne pepper or, you know, some chili flakes to our meal. So we will just add like shishito peppers, maybe. We'll add hot peppers to a recipe and like to a chili. We'll put some hot peppers into the chili more so than we're trying to add additional flavor through commercial bought products. Right. Mike Mumford asks, is it cold? It's so cold in Scranton, it froze. It froze Lindsay. That's right. And that is true. It could have been that, actually. Good. We got lots of questions coming in through here. So we're answering the questions right now on the YouTube stream and on the Facebook stream. I will jump over here in a few minutes to those of you who left questions on the Instagram page. But oh, this one actually from Mike Cotto. Very interesting here. My 7-year-old daughter has type 1 diabetes. We try to maintain her blood sugar levels mainly with healthy nutrition without having to administer a ton of insulin. Is this sustainable? And would you recommend Dolce diet for type 1 diabetics? Number one, speak with your doctor. Only work under the care of her doctor. Do not make any dietary changes without the direct supervision of her doctor. That said, we will share some information or educational-based information for entertainment purposes only. So, Lindsay, what do you think about this? You actually have great experience on this.
Yeah, so I've actually oddly worked with a lot of type 1 diabetics, but the goal obviously is to reduce the amount of insulin that you need. It's a little bit different than type 2, whereas, you know, type 1, essentially you have it, you know what I mean? You're stuck with it, but it certainly doesn't have to rule your life. So I think the biggest thing is, and again, I'm not calling people out, but the biggest thing is people are like, okay, have, you know, some sort of sugary, easy to have, like a candy bar or something that's super sugary if you're feeling like you're on a low. Okay, so if you have low blood sugar, easiest way to get it back up, have some apple juice or something like that. So the goal is not to figure out a way to bring yourself back up. It's to figure out a way to stay consistent, to not have these huge peaks and valleys and spikes in our blood glucose level. And that way we reduce the severity or the extreme need to provide a lot of insulin to our body. So speaking on what we kind of preach here with the Dolce diet principles, we're consuming at every meal, we're consuming all macronutrients. So you're never going to have a meal that's 80% carbs. Okay, something that would super spike your blood sugar level. So anytime you're eating a carbohydrate source, it's also going to be paired with a quality protein source and a quality fat source to eliminate that huge spike in blood glucose. So I think the general rule of thumb is to just clean up your overall diet and make sure that you're eating healthy whole foods and not these kind of convenience products that could result in a huge spike and then like a rebound dip in that blood sugar.
Yep. And that's a great point. And over the course of the 20 some odd years that we've been doing this, we have been exposed to many people, countless people who do have some sort of blood sugar challenge. Now that may be type 1, maybe type 2, maybe pre-diabetes or gestational diabetes. It could be PCOS. There's all these different characteristics that people carry that have challenges. What we've found, and this is certainly no cure, and I make no claims, what we have found is our style of eating healthful, whole foods, wide variety, evenly portioned, evenly spaced, based upon activity, has had dramatic success working with individuals who have challenges regulating their blood sugar, because that's what diabetes is. Type 1, type 2, it's challenges in regulating blood sugar. Too high, too low is really what it comes down to. So what we say is take our program, bring that to your doctor and say, Doc, which of these meals should I not eat? Should I avoid? We have found that our clients who do that in conjunction with their doctor have an amazing variety of meals. And I would say the majority of our meals are actually very beneficial for individuals in those exact situations. Now, everyone is different. This is not medical advice here, but, kind of, tiptoeing around the topic, these type of meals are very aligned with what the medical recommendations will be when you break down the ingredients we have. High fiber foods, low net carb foods. Essentially, we're not a high carb, we're definitely not a processed carb. We avoid processed carbs, we avoid processed sugars. We eat a well-balanced plate of protein, of fats, of carbohydrates with fiber. We never neglect fiber, which is an important part of this. We urge general activity and exercise relative to your ability. We focus and teach on the ability to pre and post ingest nutrition to keep blood sugar stable and balanced during that nutrition period. Again, deeper conversation with your doctor, but certainly great question. What else do we have? James says, I have a hard time keeping my weight up when in training camp for MMA. Any tips on keeping your weight on while conditioning? How about that, Lindsay? Trying to keep weight on while leaning out. In many ways, this is a recomp program. Just so happens that James is getting ready for MMA. It could be a young lady getting ready for a bikini competition, or maybe it's just spring break or going on vacation with the family. We work all year, we build muscle, we get that little extra layer of body fat that kind of hides some of the definition that we want to show. We want to now be at our best, our athletic best, but we don't want to lose all the muscle we built in the process. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. So usually, again, if we branch this out to not just the training camp, but, cutting down for the summertime or something like that, I think the biggest mistake people make is drastically reducing their calories.
Yep.
So with that, you're going to be losing some of the muscle mass that you work so hard to put on. I saw another question in the Instagram comments before we started here, but somebody was talking about, tips on how to reverse diet after, cutting a bunch, but it's pretty much, again, not reducing your calories too much, making sure that your protein intake is appropriate for your body mass and your activity level. So if you're in training camp for MMA, you're probably going for hours and hours on end during a day. So you might think you need this many calories, but you actually need this many calories to fuel the exercise that you're doing, let alone sustaining your resting metabolic rate and things like that. But I think the major thing here is to not drastically reduce your calories and to really make sure that you're hitting your protein requirements.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I think the last thing you ever want to drop, if we drop at all, is protein intake. When we see a lot of calorie counters, and this is one of the reasons, and I apologize for looking distracted. I wanted to pull up the Instagram so we can actually pull back to that, answer those questions. When we focus on calorie counting and why we speak vocally about calorie counting is not the way to reduce non-functional body mass. Calorie counting, reduction of total calories, that will reduce total body weight, but more often than not, it is a disproportionate amount of lean muscle tissue that is lost.
Right.
Specifically, the longer we diet down and reduce calories, the more muscle we actually lose, because the body goes into a preservation state or a survival state where then looks to save fat as simple units of energy. We did a video on this last week or two speaking on just this topic. And guys like Greg Doucette, who was a calorie counter, and he's a good YouTuber, but he's a white belt with regards to nutrition. And I'm not bagging on Greg. It's just the truth. You look at his dietary recommendations. Someone asked a question about Greg. You look at his dietary recommendation, it's all synthetic toxic chemicals. It has an extreme negative inflammatory impact on the digestive system. It disrupts the microbiome, dramatically reduces absorption, low net nutrient foods here. And these are, and it's not just Greg, it's many individuals in the industry. To be fair, now I am ranting a little bit, who rely on drugs for muscle preservation. They overstep, or they jump over nutrition and dietetics knowledge, and they jump into pharmacology. And that's fine. That's one way to do it. And people do that all the time. And hey, that's okay. But it is very poor nutrition recommendations to focus on simple calories in, calories out, because that is at the expense of net nutrient consumption. And that's really where we start. So when we think about protein, we must think about the amino acids and proper amino acid intake. And Andy Galpin recently came on and he spoke about high quality protein sources for the ample balance of amino acids, where there's a certain type of amino acid that is available at these high net nutrient foods that is actually lost in these low net nutrient foods, more common with a calorie counting, a CSCS-based program. So outside of taking drugs, and whether you do or don't, that's fine. I'm not mad at that. We work with everyone. But outside of taking drugs, you really must be very specific in how you drop your calories, where you drop your calories, when you drop your calories, but also at the absorption ability of your body to accept these calories and partition them, to actually break down these calories, break down this food, and then send these high net nutrient calories where you need to go. So I'm speaking long on here just for more context. So it's not just drop calories, lose weight. 3,500 calories is in 1 pound of fat. I drop 3,500 calories per week, and then boom, I lose 1 pound. You might lose 1 pound. You might lose more than 1 pound because you've lost water weight also that is misrepresented as body fat. But you might not lose that 1 pound of body fat. You're probably going to lose, half to 2/3 of lean muscle tissue and half to 1/3 of body fat. So you actually can lose 20 pounds following a CSCS-based program and be skinny fat, actually increase total body fat percentage. And this is what we focus on, why I'm going a little bit longer on here. You can actually increase your total body fat percentage while losing body weight. And that's the issue. And I think that's James's question here. Big term. So now you're speaking about MMA, and that's our wheelhouse, weight class oriented athletes who do compete under USADA protocols. So there is no Greg Doucette SARMs and PED cocktails allowed in this conversation, right? So now we can only do these things scientifically and through high level, black belt level nutrition programming. This is our ability to retain every ounce of lean functional muscle tissue that the athlete has to bring into the octagon to compete, while dramatically reducing their total walk-around weight, but not so much that it adversely affects performance. And this is the rub. This is where it gets difficult. And this is harder than a lot of the bodybuilders who just stand on stage and they hold a few poses for 6 seconds, they walk away. Our athletes have to look very similar to bodybuilders. Not that they have to, they end up looking that way. I mean, you can see that photo of Mirsad up over my shoulder here, that he's, walking around at sub 6% body fat in that photo. Let's say 6%, super dried out. Every fiber you can see in that physique there at 146. He could have stepped on stage into a bodybuilding classic physique figure competition or what have you, and done extremely well. We would have simply just altered his carbohydrate intake to blow him out, to fill him out and give him that grainy, dry look. So that being said, we fight to protect protein. We almost never reduce protein. You want to keep protein relatively static. Lindsay, I'll pass the microphone to you on this. And what we do, let's say you're following our 3 weeks to shredded program. If you don't know what 3 weeks to shredded is, click that link below. You'll save 25% with the Transform promo code right now. But on 3 weeks to shredded, we actually run a concurrent calorie and carbohydrate cycle. So as the diet goes over the 21-day peaking period, and this is what we built for our pro fighters. It kind of started there 20 years ago, getting ready for weight class oriented sports. We keep protein intake relatively static as much as we can to preserve the muscle tissue, knowing our athletes are training once to twice a day and they need to retain that muscle. They need to repair and rebuild that muscle even. But then we're actually, and someone had a carbohydrate content in here that we'll touch on in a minute. We run a concurrent calorie cycle where the calories are actually waving higher and lower. So we're kind of bringing the body down and then bringing it back up with refeeds. And the same thing with carbohydrates. We're trying to provide enough stored glycogen to perform these highly glycolytic activities inherent in MMA, but not so much we spill over. And we're timing that with regards to the output of the athlete. This also offsets the survival mechanism that we had mentioned earlier. And maybe, Lindsay, you can jump in and speak on how refeeds do offset the survival mechanism. That's certainly, more aligned with your wheelhouse. So by waving calories higher and carbohydrates higher intermittently through a 3-day, 6-day, 9-day, 21-day plan, having these peaks and valleys, we can much greater reduce total body fat, non-functional body weight, while retaining lean, healthy, functional muscle tissue. So a lot of information there. Lindsay, let's talk a little bit about, because I think great audience, we're getting lots of good feedback here on this question. The lifting and reducing total calories, total carbohydrates, ghrelin response, leptin response. If you just want to touch on that and just, kind of give the overview so that they have the takeaway of what is actually happening.
Right. So the major goal here is to not get into that, starvation response mode. All of these hormonal changes will take place if you drop calories and then stay at a reduced calorie rate. And it's the reason why most diets don't work, because, like you had mentioned, skinny fat occurs, my favorite. But your body essentially doesn't fully shut down, but it starts to reduce function in many different essential areas, exercise being one of them. So energy level decreases, your ability for output decreases, which is obviously what we want to avoid, especially with a high level athlete. So the ability to kind of plan your meals and plan your carbohydrate content around exercise fuels that exercise bout, so to speak, and we use up that glycogen right away. So we avoid the excess storage of glycogen, depending on what your goals are and what type of athlete you are. But the main goal here is avoiding that negative response in our body, because we don't want. Pretty much what happens after that is your basal metabolic rate or your resting metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories that you expend essentially just if you were laying in bed all day, will also reduce. Okay, so you're in this preservation mode, and your body is literally preserving what it has. So it doesn't give as much to your training, whatever that may be. So if you're an endurance athlete, a resistance training athlete, if you're an MMA fighter, whatever it may be, you don't have as much energy to fuel that workout, because one, you reduce the amount of energy that you put into your body, but also you've set off this cascade of negative events due to the fact that you reduce your calories. So what we want to avoid, obviously, is dropping calories, but we want to plan the higher carbohydrate content meals pre and post exercise. Okay, so we eat a bunch of carbohydrates, we go work out for an hour, we use a lot of that energy right away. Okay, so the body doesn't store a lot of glycogen at all. So we use it up right away. We eat some more carbohydrates after we exercise, and we replenish those stores. So it's kind of like a cycle like that. Yeah. So if you're looking at somebody's macro plan, okay, they're eating, say they're on like 2,500 calories. They're eating a certain percentage of the 3 macronutrients, same amount of calories every single day. Yeah. That makes no sense. Unless you're doing the exact same amount of workout, expending the exact amount of energy every single day, then it would make sense, but nobody does that. Yeah. So you have a heavy training day, you have a light training day, so your food intake should also reflect that. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong.
Yeah, that's a great point. And again, one of the issues we push back about, and I'm going to jump into more comments and questions here on CICO, calories in, calories out, is let's say CICO program, you're following, bam, your calories are already programmed, your macros are already programmed, micronutrients are not even accounted for. I haven't found any macro-based program that actually takes micronutrients into consideration: calcium, magnesium, zinc, phosphorus, the list goes on and on. These are, the building blocks of life, let's say. I know people say protein is. Without micronutrients are the nails that hold the lumber together in the foundation of your home. Macros is the lumber. That's fine. You need high quality lumber, right? Without the nails, without the screws holding this together, there is nothing. The foundation means nothing. So your protein, your carbs, and I do include fiber, protein, carbs, fat, and we throw fiber into the macro conversation so people remember fiber exists. If you just focus on that, devoid of micronutrient intake, you're already on limited time. Plateau sets in, metabolic syndrome sets in, usually immunity issues set in, digestive issues set in, a whole variety of negative results set in. But if we are now following on micronutrient dense foods, then we can start to build out our basic macronutrient profile. And that starts with, hey, we're taking in about a gram of protein per day. About a gram of protein per pound of relatively lean body mass. That gets a hell of a lot easier from high quality sources, from what Galpin's point was the other day. High quality protein sources, bam, we get the right amino acids into the bloodstream to sustain the muscle we have and to then build muscle due to the perverse masochistic, damage that we're stimulating, or we're applying to our body every day. From there, we look into fats. So there are essential fats necessary for biological functions that we cannot synthesize on our own. So we have to get essential fats in. And then carbohydrates are the fuel source. And people say, well, carbohydrates, they're not necessary. There are not essential carbohydrates. There's essential proteins. There's essential fats. There are not essential carbohydrates, but at the same time, they overstep the glycolytic nature of the human body, glucose being the primary fuel source for the brain, for cardiac output, and muscular contraction. Yep. We can survive as humans because we're really good at that, but we will not thrive. And I'll point to our good friends on the keto side of the aisle who perform very poorly at any sport at the intermediate to advanced levels. And that's just the case. Look at every pro sport. You will not find a ketogenic or a fat-fueled athlete competing at the world-class level, the professional level, regardless of what the sport is. And again, anecdotally, but factually, if these low-carb diets worked, every pro athlete who makes millions of dollars to compete would follow it. Even if they hated it, they would follow it because that makes them more millions and millions of dollars. So kind of that whole big picture getting wrapped in here. Is that good? I think I went off the rails, but it's great to give context. And I see that we're still getting great engagement for everyone listening. Now, Lindsay, Casey Crescenzo is down 11 pounds so far, following our 3 weeks to shredded program. Again, if anyone is interested in our 3 weeks to shredded program, click that link below. We are giving you a 25% discount right now with promo code TRANSFORM. This is the #1 rated online personalized diet and exercise program available at thedolcediet.com. We have a 100% success ratio for over 20 years working with the world's greatest athletes. No other team can make that statement, which is super cool and is hard fought for sure. Not every case was easy, but every case was successful. And I think that definitely matters. Lots more questions here. Oh, this is a good one. Lindsay, what literature sources or authors would you recommend to read when wanting to learn more about dietetics? And I will jump in and say,
you've got one right here. His name's Mike Dolce.
Well, hey, how about that? Or Professor Lindsay Howard. We will both be teaching the Dolce Diet Certification and Fitness Conference February 26th, 27th, and 28th. Just like this, live and remote via Zoom, Friday night, Saturday day, and most of Sunday morning, teaching you everything you need to know about nutrition and dietetics, but also the business side, how to build your business, how to build your brand, how to create a cash flow positive business inside the world of health and fitness or outside, because this information is evergreen. This is a joint scientific conference as much as it is a business conference. We're super excited. There is a link below. I believe we have 2 or 3 spots left in the pre-registration tier before we go full retail. 3 days, action-packed, super intensive. The guest speakers we haven't announced yet. I think Lindsay knows a couple of the guest speakers who will be a part of it. Shh, don't say anything yet. We're not going to announce the guest speakers until it's at full price. Although everyone who pays pre-registration price gets access to the guest speakers also. But they're big deals here. And of course, Professor Lindsay Howard is a big deal here. So you will get Lindsay just hammering nutrition and dietetics content into your brain, which allows you to then answer questions anywhere you are at any time with any person and educate them on the proper foundation of diet and nutrition. We teach performance nutrition. We teach programming. We teach building your own healthy diet, that of your family. But of course, we teach you how to become a professional in the health and fitness field, how to build a career, create, financial independence, which is very rare inside this industry. So any other books outside of our amazing 340-page textbook, what else do you recommend?
Yeah, so my general recommendation, not authors off the top of my head, but my general recommendation is to stop Googling stuff. Everybody here uses Google.
Yeah, Dr. Google.
Click on the top, Google Scholar, type in whatever you want to know, and a research article will come up.
Okay.
So every research article that exists has what's called an abstract at the top of it, and is essentially just a summarization of what the topic of that research, looked at. Also, the bottom of the research, because some of them are like 20, 30 pages, there will be a section called a discussion or a conclusion, which will give you the main points of what you're looking for. So you have to do a little bit extra work than just Googling and clicking on like WebMD or I don't know, whatever it may be, but super easy to search. There we go. Google Scholar, all you have to type. So if you want to see, I don't know, a popular topic is, is fasted cardio better for fat loss than fed cardio? Okay. So a bunch of articles will pop up with the most factual scientific information that you could find. So there's one.
Bam, that is worth the admission right there, my friends. Google Scholar, nobody knew that. No one knew that. Wow, look at the great names in here. Great research in here. This is awesome. And it's such a great point. Do not just go to Google, right? Do not just go to Dr. Google here. Definitely Google Scholar is certainly the way to go. Awesome. Well, let's actually jump over to, let's see here. Let's, for fun of it, we're on the Instagram page, Ask the Dietitian, and that is Miss Lindsay Howard MS, RD, CSCS, and DDC instructor, which is exciting. Very happy to have Lindsay just crushing it out there. We got Sam Corey. Sam has a very long question. Let's see if we can answer some of this. So some of these other ones for Lindsay, someone who's looking into the area of dietitian in the future. Any advice you can give me, I'll appreciate. That's actually a great question. Someone who's considering becoming a registered dietitian in the future. Just a quick overview on what that career path looks like.
Yeah, so it's kind of a double-edged sword because the education process takes a long time and it costs a lot of money. That's just the facts of it. But it's also the most highly respected credential that you could get in the field of nutrition and dietetics. So what you're looking at is a 4-year bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics. And then typically now you're in a combined master's program with a 1,200-hour internship to receive the eligibility necessary to take the test. So it's a lot of years. It's usually like 6, maybe 7. So it's a long time. But my suggestion would be, especially when you get to that master's level, look for a school that has a graduate assistantship. So get your school paid for. You don't get paid when you're an intern. It's almost a full-time job. So it's a hard year of putting a lot of time in. And yes, you're getting education and knowledge, but you're not reaping any other rewards for that. So yes, you're preparing yourself for your future, but you might be financially strapped for that year. So if you tack on the cost of graduate school with the fact that you probably won't have time to work, it's a lot. Okay, so definitely look for a place that has a graduate assistantship. Most schools will do half tuition, full tuition. They might give you housing, potentially a meal plan, which would be huge. So definitely look at programs that have graduate assistantships for sure.
Awesome. That is great and great feedback. Great question. And it's most people don't know. And Lindsay, we've spoken about this before. Galpin alluded to it. I kind of got into the conversation with Dr. Corey Peacock also a while back, in that when you go through the academic track, you must understand the economics of that. Where, Lindsay, you're getting great or giving great advice is to get paid.
Right.
Find programs that actually pay you. Most people don't think about that. We look at college loans and the debt crisis right now. Congress is discussing, wiping away student debt. That's not wiping away student debt. It's actually transferring student debt from those who actually made poor financial decisions and spreading it across the taxation on the rest of the nation. So that's not wiping it away. But at the same time, how silly is this? They're considering wiping away student debt for people who made poor decisions, but they're not talking about stopping the student debt accumulation, because they will continue to allow the same programs that got students so far in debt in the first place. How does that make any sense? We're going to wipe away all the bad debt, but we're going to keep accepting new, terrible, horrible, bad debt. They're not going to restructure it. So I think that's super
It's going to be just a vicious cycle. It's crazy, and
it's all pandering. It's all pandering for votes in some ways. And I don't believe it's even going to happen. It's just a great carrot to keep in front of people to keep getting those votes. I know people personally who could care less about politics. They voted for the Biden ticket simply because they felt Harris would give them student debt relief 2, 3, 4 years down the road. That was their primary cause. I was like, that's over the next 4 years. If you put your nose down and bust your ass, you can pay off the $23,000 you have in student debt. And they were like, yo, but avocado toast, bro. Like, why would I pay off the debts that I incurred through poor decisions when I can run around and pretend that I'm someone of stature and standing, and I can pay $8 for a piece of toast that I can make in my home for 60 cents?
If I may, humble brag number 2.
Yes, please. I love it.
So when I was in school, I had finished grad school, thankfully. So in that last year, I was just doing my internship. And at the time, I was a paid assistant coach for the college basketball team here. So I was a paid assistant coach for a college basketball team, and also personal training on the side. So my days would look like, so I did my internship at a VA hospital. So that was a whole different beast, different conversation.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so it was actually a really cool experience getting to work with those guys. But so it was 8:30 to 4. You're on like a military schedule. You don't show up 2 minutes late. You don't leave 2 minutes early. So I'm training in the morning. Got a client at 5:30, 6:30. So I'm in my gym clothes. I have my internship, khakis and whatever.
Yep.
Change my clothes. Go to the VA. I'm there till 4:30. Then I have another set of clothes, basketball. Put my basketball gear on, go to practice, drive 2-3 hours to a game, get back, well past midnight, and do it all again. So that was my life for 10 months of a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was a grind.
Yeah.
And every day doing that amount of work, but it's fulfilling. So yes, I'm tired. Yes, I'm drinking coffee all day. It's probably where the severe caffeine addiction came from, but but you have to put the work in. So I think a lot of students now are like, how can you help me get into grad school, or how can you help me get a job? You have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's the major thing. It's like, my schedule is different this year. Like I have my students here that are like, my schedule is different this year. I have an 8 a.m. class. I have to wake up so early. Like, no, like you need to get it together.
Yeah.
You need to get it together. But these are the same people that possibly 5 years down the line are like, oh, can you please pay for my student debt because I didn't do anything to help it? You know what I mean?
That is such a great point right there. And so those watching, just know that Lindsay is a college professor. So she teaches the next generation of students that will be out there working and taking care of us, which is awesome. So you have a great vantage point to really see the personalities coming through, to be working for an academic institution. So you understand how that process works, the behind the scenes, the red tape. Colleges are businesses.
Yep.
People don't realize these are businesses, even state-run schools. These are businesses with budgets, right? And salaries and pension plans and all these things to keep. What's that?
Money rules all.
Money rules all, baby. Dollar bill, y'all. And so that being said, we speak like, man, we love education. Like, we want everyone to be educated, but formal education is not the dream our parents and grandparents thought it was in the 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, moving on. It was a matter of like, hey, you got to get a college degree because they were rare, and that ensured you a middle management job in some company with a pension program. That world is gone. That world does not exist anymore. Many of those companies do not exist anymore. Many of those pension programs have been transferred under the 401k concept, which anyone can create their own 401k program. We'll talk on that in a different episode. But we get a lot of young people who come through. We get interns who come through, and just our overall speaking, for those interested, we're going to jump into more questions here in a minute. There is nothing wrong with getting all your out of high school. You get all your prereqs at a JUCO, a junior college, or a community college. Mm-hmm. Literally, you're talking about 8 to 12 cents on the dollar, the cost of a credit. If that, you can get through a full semester on $2 or $3 grand, and it's in typically the same county. The majority of those credits, and make sure speak with your counselor, those credits are transferable.
Yep.
Right? You can go through, get your JUCO associates, which no harm there, while working, creating cash flow, hopefully becoming a DDC. And we do have some DDCs who have done that. So now you're getting let's say you're working towards an associate's or a bachelor's in nutrition science or exercise phys or something like that. So you're getting all your science prereqs out of the way, and you can speak on that if you want to, because, I've never went that track. I saw it. I was like, you know what? For me personally, a little anecdote here. My buddy was actually heading in. I had a college scholarship. I lost it due to an injury. Then it was kind of fringe. I could redshirt for a year. And I started looking at the money. Poor home, families like losing the house. I was like, man, like, this is a tough situation for me. Can I go and just be have 5-year college student and have some fun and party and wrestle a little bit? My buddy was going to school, didn't have a scholarship. We were both going for clinical nutrition. He was going to pay 25 grand per year. At the same time, I was working for a national nutrition company who offered me a raise, an assistant manager raise on the general manager track. This is at 19 years old, 18 years old even. And they were going to pay me $25,000 per year. And I looked and I said, holy shit, my buddy's going to pay 100 grand over the next 4 years. I'm going to probably make 160 grand with raises and incentives while getting on the job training. This is more in the supplement side, but they had a wide variety of paid to educate me, where I had credits built in. I could go to the local junior colleges. I could select the topics that I could get: business administration. I could get finance. I could get nutrition related topics. Of course, I went that route. Not that it's better, but it was right for me, who I just never enjoyed that classroom concept. I love education. I just didn't personally enjoy it. Now, there's great individuals, very successful, who love, like Lindsay. I wouldn't say you love the classroom environment, but at the same time, you utilized it to your best benefit. I mean, your credentials, and we even spoke about you kind of becoming a PhD hunter eventually down the road, and possibly picking up a few PhDs as your career progresses, because that is a great track for you that you've been able to well monetize. For those listening, in that Lindsay is working in a multitude of fields all at the same time, where most, and then, clinical RDs, they come out as a registered dietitian. They're 6 years in school. They're, $120,000 to $200,000 in student debt. And then they get a job, if they're lucky, making 40 grand a year.
Right.
And they're working with people who are making 42, 46, 48. God forbid somebody makes 55 in that field. And then the manager of the department is maybe making 60, 65, where then kind of you're in your 20, 30 years of retirement comes in. That's more of the majority of the RD field outside of specialized degrees. And Lindsay has multiple there. So just a little aside about the economics in nutrition. It's not all what you think.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I mean, I will say that when I was at my internship at the VA, it's a government job. So they definitely got paid more than local hospitals.
Sure.
But still, and those people don't like their job. They don't.
No.
It's like day in, day out. You see somebody come in, they were admitted to the hospital with chest pain. Here's your low sodium diet for the next 2 days, and then see ya, you're gone.
Yep.
So my favorite part about doing what we do is developing relationships with people and getting to know them and getting to understand why, they're in the situation that they are, and, things of that nature. But I would say there's a couple areas of specialty that I definitely appreciate and think these people do a great job. But dietitians who work with kidney disease patients, cancer patients, things like that, that's a very specialized field. And it takes a special person to do that. But I would say, other than that, people who are like outpatient, short-term hospital stay dietitians, they don't enjoy it. There's no satisfaction that comes out of it. And I think that's why we all get into this field, is to help people. And I feel like a lot of dietitians find themselves unfulfilled. But I think it's great that I can, and I would never want to be pigeonholed into one spot, but I love interacting with my students, my players, my clients, and that's what it's all about, is just interacting with people. So it's very rewarding for me to be able to bounce around and, develop relationships with people.
And one thing that you had said, which we've experienced here, is a lot of the dietitians, we receive resumes from dietitians weekly, which is amazing. And some work for us in different capacities and are part of the team long-term. Many of them actually go through the hospital sector. Sometimes because that's where the good jobs are, they think. You get healthcare, you get benefits, you get a structured salary. It's probably not going to go out of business. And what they find is they get into it just like you. They have these big hearts. They want to help people. And then they get stuck in their little cubby and they simply hand people cans of Ensure all day. Right? It falls into medical record. That's all it is. They become like accountants that actually prescribe these low net nutrient foods simply because that is the system. And that's a whole other conversation, is how asinine the medical system truly is, where dietitians cannot do their job properly because they're handcuffed by, I believe, the pharmaceutical companies and the big lobbies, right? It's all about drugs and hospitals. It has nothing to do with nutrition. Anyone who's been to a hospital who actually had to stay there for overnight and you saw the food tray that came to you, you're like, are you effing kidding me? Like, this is what you're feeding me, considering my health issues? There's nothing, I've never seen anything healthy come through a hospital, a meal tray. Yeah.
Interestingly, part of an internship is you have to do a rotation in the kitchen. So you have to work with the chefs, figure out, what food gets frozen, storage temperature, all this stuff that's like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm never going to do this again. This is the dumbest thing ever. Get me out of here. But you see the containers and the big blocks of like just this frozen block of, oh, that's chicken noodle soup. Yeah. They're like, what? And it's just absurd, the food that's in most of these hospitals. So it's hard because you want to do the right thing as a dietitian and tell them what to eat, give them instruction for when they leave the hospital. But then here's your tray of, ridiculous amounts of sodium packed food and things like that. So it's definitely, I don't want to go as far as corrupt, but it's definitely messed up.
So back, I don't even know, 10 or so years ago, when we wrote the college diet guide, it was basically a cheat sheet for college students to actually eat well on super tight budgets. And part of the research that we did, we were shocked. We found that most college cafeterias, public run, but also many of the private cafeterias, college cafeterias, public run hospitals, and prisons all had the same foods and brands and menus. So what prisoners eat in jail is the exact same food people are spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to go to these nice little fancy colleges. Yeah. Same exact food from the same exact distributors that our hospitals are also feeding. So these mass food manufacturers and distribution companies have contracts with government, and they simply provide this food for government entities, hospitals, schools, and prisons. This has nothing to do with nutrition. It's simply a matter of ticking a box. Of course, the markups are huge. It's public budgets, government budgets, so nobody cares. There's no price shopping. That it's. So you say corruption. I agree. My belief is that it is all purely corrupt, and mostly it's corrupt due to incompetence.
Yep.
Nobody's actually trying to negotiate for higher quality foods. They're just ticking the box and spitting in their chair playing solitaire 7.5 hours per day.
What's most corrupt is the National School Lunch Program.
Okay, give us a little bit more about that. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not familiar with the most current guidelines, but the last time that I had to know them or looked at them, but like a whole grain pizza crust would count as a serving of whole grains for a week. So like they have to meet certain dietary requirements throughout the week of the school. And I know some schools have dietitians employed, but same as the hospital. They're handcuffed and they're strapped because here's the food that's being given to you. What can you really do with that?
Yeah.
So that's just one example. And then like fruit juice. So every meal, the kid has to be offered fruit juice, milk, I think just fruit juice and a milk. Like give them some water. Like give them some water. Chocolate,
so sugar and sugar, right? Fruit juice and milk. Sugar.
So fruit juice, I believe, don't quote me, but fruit juice, I believe, counts as like a serving of fruit, which is just mind blowing.
Wow.
Yeah. You'll have fun if you look.
I will. Actually, I will. I took a note. I will. Now, all this talk of low quality food, let's speak briefly about high quality food from our good friends at Certified Piedmontese. This episode is brought to you by Certified Piedmontese. Go to Piedmontese.com and feed your family the same way I feed mine. Right now, use promo code DOLCE to save 25% on grass-fed, grass-finished beef with free delivery. That's Piedmontese.com. Oh, yeah. Big friends or a big fan of our friends at Certified Piedmontese. Again, the only beef that we actually do purchase and we do feed our family, the grass-fed, grass-finished fillets, ground beef, bovettes, stew meat is phenomenal. The big tomahawk steaks. Cannot say enough about it. So anyone's interested, by the way, we get 0 commission for your use of that 25% code. We pass 100% of that discount on to you, and also free shipping on orders over $99. Why would you not feed your family the same way I feed mine? Now, that being said, Lindsay, I wanted to jump into more current news, and there is something that happened over the weekend here. UFC lightweight Bobby Green made weight at 156 pounds and then was pulled from the card because he collapsed backstage. And I just want to read this article. I want to talk to you, Lindsay, with the audience here listening about some of the dangers of poorly conducted weight cuts. Now, Bobby Green just collapsed back there. UFC President Dana White told reporters shortly thereafter, doctors are looking at him. They're trying to rehydrate him right now. The fight against Jim Miller, who is a New Jersey gangster, was subsequently canceled. Feel bad for Jim on that one. Last Friday, Green took to Instagram and addressed the issues for the first time. Long-time lightweight Green revealed that lung and kidney issues were to blame. This is terrifying. There are 3 hills I have to get over in fighting, Green wrote. 1 is giving blood. He hates needles. 2 is planes. He hates heights. And number 3 is the weight cut. I was so close. To be clear, I have air pockets in my lungs, I guess, and my kidneys failed. I messed my back up in training. I thought it was just pain from that. Thanks for all the wonderful things you guys said. It's crazy how you can get a lot of love, but not the love you want, if it makes any sense. Now, Lindsay, jumping on over to us to discuss that. A few things here. Number 1, Bobby Green is a stud. He is he's a really talented fighter. I consider myself friends with Bobby off-season, behind-the-scenes friends. I always like to see him and his team. Now, that being said, he's made a lot of mistakes in preparation. And I think, number 1, I want to talk about the psychological side. He already has a preconception about hating weight cuts. So when he takes a fight, oh, fuck, I got to cut weight. I got to get on negative association. He's already creating a state in my mind of a negative outcome with regards to his weight cut. And the power of biochemistry as induced by high stress, high anxiety situations is well researched, well documented, and clearly connected to the physical manifestation of certain issues. We've seen it before, conducting high level weight cuts. Now, that being said, he said he had a back injury in training. And thought that his kidney issue was his back issue. So I wonder, was he having these kidney issues during training camp even?
Right.
That manifested then
as back pain. Yeah.
Came to a hell during the weight cut. So what are your thoughts on that? Just from what he's saying, he's got air pockets in his lungs or lung issues and kidney issues that kind of led to him collapsing backstage and then pulled from the card, which is terrifying.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking on the kidney, it's responsible for essentially filtration in our bodies. And if you're severely dehydrated, your total blood volume is reduced. So we know plasma makes up a lot of our blood volume. So total blood volume is reduced. That means reduced blood flow to the kidneys, which means decreased kidney function.
Yep. So
as far as the collapse, I'm not sure. And Mike, obviously, you're very much more experienced in the weight cutting area than I am. But I mean, any sort of drastic reduction in hydration, and again, I don't know what his techniques were, but you could see some pretty severe health issues. But I do wonder if he actually had, like an acute, blow to the back or something like that started causing his pain, or if that kind of pain presented from maybe pre-existing kidney issues that he thought was a back injury. So It's kind of like which came first kind of scenario there. But I don't know how I missed that. It
got a little bit of hype over the weekend, and then it just kind of got pushed under the radar. I think I saw 2 articles pop up. I didn't even know it happened, but our community just started sending me links in the DMs like, hey man, what do you think? What happened? And I wasn't even aware of it. So it didn't pop up. And, I check MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, the basic news sites once or twice a day, morning and later afternoon, but I'm not really chasing those stories anymore. So it came from the audience, and I went through. Now I know Bobby a little bit, and I shot him an Instagram message, just kind of checking in on him, wishing him the best, of course.
Right.
And not trying to work with him. Not that I have any issue, but we're not really trying to work in that space at this stage. But saying, hey, like, you or your team have any questions, feel free to bounce them off of us as a friend. Like, happy to say, like, hey man, what'd you do? Let's troubleshoot a little bit. And what he had said is he mistimed his water cut.
Okay.
That could go a lot of ways. Does that mean he shut his water off too soon? Maybe he stopped drinking water on Monday or Tuesday while pulling 10, 12, 16 pounds of fluid from his body. That'll shut your kidneys down, right? Oh, yeah. Maybe he went straight. And how many people do you know, they go to distilled water a week out, 10 days out, 5 days out, they go straight distilled water, and then they're shocked that their body shuts down 3 days before weigh-ins, right? That happens. Maybe he cut sodium. I mean, there's so many different things, and I don't know the details for sure. And I wouldn't disclose those unless, Bobby wanted to down the road. But this is dangerous stuff. This is a very healthy young man. Normally, this is one of the most elite athletes on the planet fighting in the UFC, right? So this is a genetic elite. I am not a Bobby Green of athleticism nor genetics, right? So I think we can say that this is a genetic elite, superior genetically, athletically than the majority of the population. How can an athlete who is that supreme to just give all these athletes, due respect? You're competing at that level. That's NBA, that's NFL. Man, that's a whole nother level. You're at that level, and then you have this type of tragic negative outcome. This shows you how serious weight cutting is and how dangerous weight cutting is. God knows Bobby probably lost $50, $100, $150,000 as a result of this, right? Jim Miller, same thing. I think Jim's making over 6 figures to show up. So this is a $250,000 or so net loss to these athletes cumulatively. Think about the economics again of what that does to their family. Training, they're out of pocket on their training camp. They're traveling around. They're bringing in partners. They're getting chiro and massage and doing all these other things you got to do, right? Most of these training camps probably cost 10 to 30 grand all in. Special foods, hyperbaric chambers, like, whatever the shit these athletes are doing now just to compete at that level. So it's terrible to see. I really hate seeing that stuff.
Right. I saw something recently, and it honestly might have been from you, but it was just a quote that said, weight cutting is not dangerous. Improperly weight cutting is dangerous.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it the right way and paying attention to the science, you're saying, how can this happen to a genetic freak? Well, genetic freaks aren't immune to, physiological dysfunction. Yeah. So how you treat your body is how it's going to react, regardless of if you're an elite athlete or not. So if there was some sort of drastic reduction in sodium, as we know, sodium is, we need sodium and potassium for all cellular function. So just a drastic reduction in sodium could cause, something catastrophic. So I think it's definitely important to do your research and make sure you're treating your body how it should be treated. Your body is your money. That's your income. So
yeah, that's the moneymaker.
Yeah.
It's funny that it's such a great point. I don't know that was my quote per se, but it's certainly something that we say all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking to manage body weight, and we talk about the 52 week weight cut. Weight cutting starts 52 weeks before competition. It's about a lifestyle. If you're competing at that level, if you compete in a weight class oriented sport, you should be living your life in a manner that keeps you within a healthy distance of your competitive weight class. This is, 2021 at this year and stage. It's funny that we have these magical devices in our hand right now that every 3 months dramatically improve in technology, but the science of weight cutting has not evolved practically in over 100 years. Basically, many athletes are doing exactly what they did at the turn of the 20th century, right? As far as preparing, they're putting on burlap bags and they're shadow boxing in these old farms in the middle of summer in order to make weight, chewing on steak and spitting out the juice, right? That's what a lot of these damn athletes are doing. And we're like, fuck, man, there's so much science out there that we know so much if you just focus a little bit more on healthy weight management in the off season. And I think this is where the genetic elite conversation comes in. The more elite the athlete, the more corners they typically cut because it's been relatively easy for them. This is why guys like George St. Pierre stand out. Guys like Habib Nurmagomedov stand out. These athletes, they don't cut corners. They don't cut corners. And you get guys like John Jones. John Jones cut corners, and his career paid for that. We can think about John Jones. Most people think about John Jones, unfortunately, not as the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. And I still think John is. When they first hear John Jones's name, they think about his very public fuck-ups. And that saddens me because I think, again, John is the greatest in the game. You put him in the octagon, John beats everybody. Take him out of the octagon, and there's been a lot of genetic advantage that have cost him publicly. Mm-hmm. So, and I think something like this could be said for a guy like Bobby Green, who maybe didn't do the things necessary in the offseason to prepare him for a healthy weight cut as he went through it. And that's probably the most common answer right there. Even on the mental side, is he was expecting a nasty weight cut. He already believes weight cuts are nasty. He doesn't enjoy weight cuts. So he's reframing that constantly. Oh, this is going to suck. I hate weight cutting. This is going to suck. I hate weight cutting. It makes sense that he's going to have a bad weight cut. Even when he's made weight, I'm sure it was not an awesome experience for him. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the mental side of things is definitely underplayed. People forget about, obviously, if you're a professional athlete, you could generally expect that you're a mentally tough individual. But every athlete has a breaking point. And every athlete has that, that mental switch, that either gets turned on or turned off. Yeah. So you see guys in a fight mentally give up, or you could see them mentally take it to the next level. So I'm sure that carries over to the weight cutting process for sure. Even if it's not supposed to be that bad, you can manifest those thoughts by telling yourself that it's going to be bad. So I think that's, certainly an area that I'm not an expert in, but sports psychology is huge. Visualization and all that stuff I think is important, but definitely overlooked as far as the whole performance umbrella. Yeah.
They say that where the mind goes, the body follows.
Mm-hmm.
Many times that's to a dark place, right? And people forget that. It's like, oh, this positive, The Rock and Tony Robbins, motivational. My mind leads the way. Most of the time, people's minds lead them down to these dark alleys and these dark holes in life.
Yeah.
And if we think about that, everybody listening right now, most of your biggest mistakes in life were self-inflicted. You were hanging with the wrong people. You were making wrong decisions. You were, leading a life that was incongruent with your overall goals and outcomes. And one tiny decision made 1,000 different times typically leads us to that spot, that negative spot. So kind of that's something that we need to think about. What we do certainly try and talk about here on that channel is accountability equal outcomes, or actions equal outcomes, and becoming accountable, becoming intentional, becoming mindful, and all of this matters. Now, I do want to touch on, because I know we're starting to get long here, but something also I do want to bring up to everyone who is watching and paying attention to this is the next Dolce Diet Certification and Fitness Conference, February 26th, 27th, and 28th. You can actually become a Dolce Diet certified coach. We will teach you everything you need to know about nutrition and dietetics. We also teach you everything you need to know how to build your brand, create a cash flow positive business, and attain financial independence that is very rare in the health and fitness field. So this certification will be, again, February 26th, 27th, and 28th. No experience is necessary. We have PhDs who take this course and people who have yet to earn their GEDs. The course includes nutrition and dietetics, motivational interviewing, the weight cut foundations, building your brand, turning social media into business media, how to become a 7-figure fitness pro, Q&A, of course, which is awesome, bonus guest speakers. You get a Dolce Diet hoodie, which is great. I'm wearing one right now. And of course,
where's my hoodie?
What your hoodie is on the way, by the way. Your hoodie is on the way. Super excited. There's so much here. There's so much going on inside of this course, and just the ability to share this. Now, we have a lot of fun here, but we certainly drill down into the science, and that's what we will teach you. Everything you need to know about nutrition and dietetics, how to properly program. You can see the price right now. This retails at $24.99. This will sell out. We will sell out. We've sold out at this price. Every single time we've put on this course, ladies and gentlemen, we've sold out. If you are interested, you can pre-register now and save 25%. There are 6 spots left. I know that number is wrong, but I will, because it's up on screen right now. I think there was 2 spots left as of this morning. I will honor that 6 spots. That will likely be gone maybe by the end of this stream, certainly by the end of the day. These have been selling almost every single day they sell out, and that will move on to a different tier where it will be a smaller discount. So those of you interested, take advantage of the 6 spot right now. Anyone who does log in right now, you do go to dolcedietshop.com right now, click the link below. We will honor that for the next hour, and once the 6 spots are gone, then we will move on to the next tier. But this is the ability to become your own boss, to run your own business, to learn everything you need to know about nutrition and dietetics. Lindsay and I have been on here for barely an hour. This is a 3-day course breaking down everything you need to know on nutrition and dietetics. And I love that because most people are so shocked. They don't know how much actually goes into becoming truly competent in nutrition. They don't. My favorite chapter is actually digestion. This is why I bang on so much about how SECO is ridiculous and macro counting is ridiculous. Nobody understands digestion. It's not what you make that matters. It's what you save that matters and invest that matters. You want to be rich. You make $1 million a year, but you got $1,001 in expenses. You are broke as a joke. You make 50 grand a year, but you only have 20 grand in expenses. You are more rich with that 30K net profit that you could redeploy. And I teach all of these investment strategies, by the way, in this course. You are much more wealthy, have a higher net worth than the person who makes $1 million. Now, that's not a direct analogy because most of the SECO high calorie programs are low net nutrient program or low net nutrient foods. We focus on digestive efficiency, which is why we spend quite a bit of time on the digestive system. And we actually added what I call external digestion. So Lindsay, just a brief, aside here for those paying attention, we have what's known as mechanical digestion, right? That's chewing our food. And then we have chemical digestion, which happens in the stomach. Most absorption, again, happens in the small intestine, and there's a whole process in between. We speak about external digestion. And what I believe is an overlooked concept of greater nutrient absorption, and that is the ability to further break down foods before mechanical digestion actually begins. And there is some chemical reaction in the mechanical process, but at the same time, external digestion. What does that mean? This is a little pro tip here. This is one for free. I love steak. Certified Piedmontese fillets, my goodness, they are incredible. But when I'm cutting, when I'm shredding, when I'm trying to eat more, build more bulk, what do is I will go to the certified Piedmontese grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef instead, because these are smaller chopped up pieces of beef. I will actually turn these into like stir fry. The ground beef, I will actually stir fry, mix that into a rice bowl and eat it like that, because this is even further digested. So when it does hit my mouth is now chewing, mechanically digesting, breaking down smaller pieces. And we think in terms of bulk matter. This allows for greater digestive efficiency, which is important. Pro tip, if you're bulking. If I'm I take in 3,200 calories a day. If I want to add lean muscle tissue, I got to get up to like 4,200 freaking calories per day. Holy shit, that's a lot of food. Now, if I'm actually going to external digestion, I'm improving the efficacy of my digestive system. Same thing when I'm cutting. Now I got to drop calories from 32 to 26 to 2,400, let's say. I try not to go below 2,400 on cutting phases. Again, I focus on external digestion, which allows greater absorption. I should say more efficient absorption. I don't have to work as hard. I can get my food in more timely, and I can actually pull more of those vital nutrients from the small intestine as they go through the absorption process as a result of external digestion. Now, have you heard of external digestion before, Lindsay? Did I coin that term here?
You may have. I thought external digestion was going to go a different path.
Okay.
Like the post result and result of the full digestion process, but yours was more on the pre side, so I like that.
It's kind of pre-consumption. We want to do everything we can, because the most important thing with nutrition doesn't matter if we're not focused on the absorption of the foods we're actually consuming. And I love to, even part of the class, I always say raw bulk matter. This food, this phone right here, this is a big hard rock. Now, this is a piece of steak. This is a piece of chicken. This is whatever's sitting on your plate. I have to take this big thing right here, and I have to turn this into an atomic particle, right? My body has to turn this thing into an atomic particle so small it's imperceptible to my eye, so it can then get pushed into all the cells of my body, like my eyelashes. My eyelashes are actually made of the food I'm consuming. Big picture. So how does this magic happen? It's fascinating to me. Like, digestion is the most fascinating aspect of nutrition. But I will say that our focus on digestion for over 10 years is one of the primary reasons I do believe we have a 100% success ratio with our athletes. We have ensured our athletes have been able to absorb a greater amount of the net nutrients they have consumed, because we focus on digestive efficacy, and most of the other teams don't. Most of the other teams, good teams as they are, they pull fiber. They go to these big blocky pieces they go almost keto. Keto is very hard with regards to digestion, especially as we're approaching a dehydrated state where the blood gets thicker and digestion naturally is reduced anyway. So again, this is why the Dolce Diet team is such a high level. We're so high level. We're doing things the other teams don't even think about. Not because they're not good and smart, simply because they don't have the experience that we have. And I believe they don't have the great minds that have been in this conversation trying to look at things, like Professor Lindsay Howard here, of course. We have so many different views and vantage points as we approach these issues. We can really see a much larger picture than simple calories in, calories out. I mean, I learned calories in, calories out in 1987 reading Flex magazine. Right? We haven't advanced past that. No, like nobody's taken a deeper, thought past that simple concept.
Right. Calories in, calories out, or if it fits your macros, is like filling your gas tank up, but poking a hole in the bottom of it and having all the nutrients trickle out as you drive around.
Yes.
Versus keeping your gas tank full and actually using all that energy.
Yes.
That's what it is. Food is potential energy. We turn it from a food substance to a usable form of cellular chemical energy. So it's almost wasteful. Not only are you, reducing your ability to metabolize and do any sort of bodily function by not giving yourself all the micronutrients and phytonutrients, but you're also kind of like just putting crap into your body.
Yeah.
Ruining that digestive tract. So
that's the great point. Why we always speak of synthetic toxic chemicals. Synthetic toxic chemicals create systemic inflammation in the gut. Sucralose. Everyone, sucralose. Like guys, again, I'll use Greg Doucette because he's very popular, very successful with his YouTube channel. I'm not mad at Greg for making a lot of money. I certainly hope he does. But a lot of Greg's nutrition information are ridiculous. They make no sense because he does not look at the big picture, nor does he accept the fact that we know for a fact, definitively, no doubt, that artificial sugars, artificial sweeteners create systemic inflammation inside the digestive system, and they disrupt absorption of the nutrients. Therefore, the nutrients being consumed are inefficiently consumed and oftentimes not, or absorbed, I should say, and not absorbed properly at all, while being low net nutrient food sources in the first place. Mm-hmm. So there's a small percentage of required nutrients being consumed through these low net nutrient foods that have these, processed sugars and artificial sugars and sweeteners and preservatives and colors and flavor additives and all these things. Like, why not suggest healthful whole foods? And then, yes, high quality foods. Galpin, again, give him credit. He speaks about high quality, high net, and we say high net nutrient. He says high quality. So saying that high net nutrient foods, then you can build out a macro profile, a total caloric ceiling. But our total caloric ceiling, we do not start at calories and then go down. We start at micros and then build up. The micros are the base of the pyramid here. So once we focus on high net nutrient foods, ensuring we're getting all the essential micronutrition we need, the nails and the screws to keep the structure together, then we can balance out the macros. It's about 1 gram of protein per pound of total body mass. We need to get the proper ratio of essential fats into our system. We need carbohydrates that also, but the carbohydrate sources, they bring many of the nutrients to the table, right? Through micronutrients and phytonutrients, they kind of help build out that corner of the block. So as we built that, then we back into a total caloric ceiling. And then what we say is, well, what's your goal now? Trying to gain weight, lose weight, recomp, perform. You want to run a marathon? You're going to do a powerlifting competition. That's the last 10% that we can start to tweak. We make a little change, 3-week, 6-week, 12-week program. We can make a couple little tweaks here to the calories and to the macros, but we're never shutting down the micros. And this is where a lot of these programs go wrong.
Yep. And I think it's almost like less informed people assume that every food product you put in your body is used.
Yeah.
Because that's not the case. And I think it is, because like digestion and the, learning about how each micronutrient and each macronutrient is absorbed, broken down, mechanical digestion, chemical digestion, how it's transported throughout your body, that's a very complicated process. And for people who are less informed and just trying to make a buck by giving somebody some macro program, they don't feel like learning that. They don't want to take the time to actually, learn that complex process to understand what's going on. So I think that's kind of why it's overlooked. And there's just a lot of misinformation out there. So
you are spot on 100%. They simply do not want to take the time to learn step 2.
Right.
Because macro counting's easy. Calorie counting's easy. I could go on, since AOL dial-up, you could download a macro spreadsheet. Bodybuilding.com, you can go on there right now. These have been in market for 20 years. I mean, RP Strength, unfortunately, Dr. Mike Israetel, he's got a great business, but it is a very low bar of entry here, unfortunately. And it's not bagging on Mike. I think Mike is great. He's got a lot of great science, but I think he will even admit that the RP Strength concept is just a basic Excel template. It's a basic macro program, which for baseline entry level into fitness, okay, sure. But why not go further and speak upon the importance of micronutrient and phytonutrient density, of suggesting high net nutrient foods? And, I saw one of these RP programs years ago, so maybe they've updated it since then. We're going back about 4 years when a CrossFit athlete came to us and they were like, man, this is my program. We plugged it in. It was like, it was not what an elite athlete should be consuming, unfortunately. And there was the exchanges built in, very simple, but easy to engage for an end user. There's no education necessary. Guys, certain guys and gals out there with their macro programs, it's garbage, unfortunately. And most of the time people fail simply because they have not built in the necessary healthy habits to live a long life, because they're still eating the 100-calorie snack packs. They're having Pop-Tarts after their training. They're drinking, zero free or diet soda, Diet Coke, as a part of their normal day because, hey, it fits my macros. They do not understand the dangerous impact of these synthetic toxic chemicals have, specifically long-term, and definitely when we focus on digestive efficiency and digestive health.
Right. And the problem is there's plenty of people out there that have success doing it that way, and they might just happen to look amazing.
Yeah.
So they have this huge Instagram following, and then everybody tries to follow what they're doing, and then they fail.
Yep.
So yes, sometimes it'll work for some people, but based on research, based on science, based on the vast majority of people, it's not what works. And it may work to achieve your short-term goal. So I want to look good for summer 2021. Okay, you look good for a couple months, you feel like crap, you don't sleep, you don't have a lot of energy. So we're looking at the whole picture of health here, and how can we be the healthiest individuals? And most importantly is the prevention of, metabolic related diseases.
Yep.
So that's the biggest thing.
And judging a program based upon the way someone looks is the worst way to do it. And years ago, my buddy Gerald Harris, now he does not sell nutrition plans, so he's not a nutrition expert, just for a fact. Gerald Harris, I fought with him. We were teammates for Team Quest in the IFL. We were roommates on The Ultimate Fighter, and just one of my best friends in the sport. And so we hung out a lot together. Gerald Harris looks like a god. Like, I would stare at him and I would just be staring at the dude's physique, because he fucking, especially in our 20s and 30s, looks stage ready year round. He never did a push-up, doesn't lift weights, eats fucking McDonald's 3 times per day. Me, I'm doing early morning cardio. I'm eating my perfect 6 meals. I'm lifting weights like programming. I'm constantly doing everything I can to maximize my genetic potential. And maybe 3 days per year, I physically looked better than Gerald because I was perfectly peaked out. So point being, Gerald walks around this planet looking like a freak without even trying. And just basically, in those days, he was simply eating based upon budget and flavor. No regards to nutrition needs, right? So point being, now, Gerald, again, he's a school teacher. He's a very successful professional fighter in his own right and just comedian and great guy. So using him for my own world, there are people who look amazing, guys and gals who are just, they have the right parents and all looks great. And then because they look great in a G-string or board shorts with good lighting and a little bit of filtering, they're throwing out these macro programs. That is not what you should be following. You should really take the time to educate yourself. And what we try and do here is we offer education before anything else. Our job is to provide honest, evidence-based, and inspirational information to help people change their life. We are an education company. Our only job is to teach you how to make better decisions in your own world. It's not even, do not do what we say, listen to what we say, and then go and research it and test it. See if what we say makes sense. But I always challenge people to go back 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 3 years into what we've been saying and see if we've been saying the same thing, or like the majority of people out there, 6 months ago, they said something completely different. 3 years ago, holy shit, they sold 3 different opposite things over the last 3 years. What they're saying right now has no relation to what they were selling me 3 years ago, but every single time it was the best thing ever, right? So that being said, you need to really understand the people you're getting information from and find out what makes the most sense, but you must test everything. So don't take our word for it. No, just listen to our opinion on this. Does it make sense? Do your own due diligence, follow up, see if there's evidence that supports the things that we're saying, and then see if it's right for you to move forward. Most of the other programs, they don't do that. It's here, follow this macro program, you'll get shredded, pay me $97 or whatever that is. Right? I know. All right. So to close now, Lindsay, thank you for being here. I appreciate everyone being here. Well, someone actually asked, what is it? And I mean, this is might have actually off topic. Off topic, but what did you do to get a huge neck? Well, I wrestled since I was 13 years old. I've been powerlifting and strength training since I was 8 years old. I say it's blue collar. If I do bicep curls, I put the weights, I start and finish with the weights on the floor. Barbell starts on the floor, dumbbell start on the floor. That's the way it is. So it's, lots of farmers walks and lots of heavy stuff. I grew up building houses and working on as a mate on a tuna boat, just like lugging ice and fish and all this stuff. So hard work, that kind of like farm boy mentality, I think is the biggest aspect of that. Naturally, I was kind of an ectomorph, very, thin guy. And I changed my body type. Now, Cyclops says, I have to lose 16 pounds in 1 month. How do I do it fast with keeping my muscle? And this is a softball question right here. Click the link below. Go to the DolceDiet.com. Start our 3 weeks to shredded program. 3 weeks to shredded is designed to lose 21 pounds in 21 days for those who have that weight to lose, or a similar proportion for those who have a certain amount of weight that you can healthily lose. Now, you think about our athletes. This was designed for our pro athletes who are getting ready for weight class oriented sports. I strongly suggest you take a look at the 3 weeks to shredded program, clicking the link below, and use the promo code TRANSFORM right now to save 25%. It is there for you. We have it up right now during this show to save the 25%. Ours is the #1 rated online healthy weight loss program. There is no BS. There's no synthetic toxic chemicals. We don't put you keto. We don't force you to fast. We don't cut your carbs. It is intelligent food programming all the way through, and I think you will love the results. All right. I think that's it, Lindsay. We're going to be an hour and 36. Great questions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. We're going to get Lindsay back on. Lindsay, I'd love to get you back on Monday if possible. Maybe we'll do like Monday at 11 o'clock if this is a good time for you.
All right.
We'll get this as become a regular feature here. Now, I should say, actually, if anybody wants to work directly with Lindsay, you should be going, and let me bring this up right now, you should be going to DolceDietShop.com, and you can actually work one-on-one right now at a massive discount, one-on-one consultations with Lindsay Howard MS, RD, LRD, DDC, CSCS, a registered dietitian who is happy to answer every question that you have and help you personalize your own nutrition lifestyle. You can also hire Lindsay and work one-on-one with her to build an 8-week personalized nutrition plan. All this information is at DolceDietShop.com. If you do want to work with Lindsay, I strongly recommend you take advantage of this. Now, she doesn't have a ton of spots available, we should say. So if you're interested, go to DolceDietShop.com now. See if you can squeeze in and get into her calendar where she can help you. One-on-one consultations are awesome. I certainly love those, and I think that's a great stepping point. Or if you want that personalized 8-week program, definitely take advantage. Working with a high-level registered dietitian with a massive education behind her, but also the practical experience of knowing what works and what is bunk. So certainly consider that, my friends. Lindsay, anything else?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot of topics, as we always do. It felt like 10 minutes. But
it's crazy how quick it goes, right?
I think last time we almost hit 3 hours, so this was pretty good.
And I think if we keep it right around an hour and a half or so, it's there. And guys and gals, thank you for asking your questions. I know there's so many more questions we did not get to. The Instagram page, the Facebook, the YouTube. This is a great broadcast. Our first time doing it like this in this format. So next Monday at 11 a.m., we're going to do the same thing. And I think what we'll do is I'll open the stream earlier so you can ask your questions even before the stream even goes live. And we can run down those a lot quicker. Lots of great questions. I love how educated our audience is. Such great questions. You can see everyone is driving forward, working towards goals. They're not kind of, not, all questions are certainly acceptable. We love all questions, but it's always interesting to see that the questions being asked are typically of a higher knowledge base, which is awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say I could jump in the comments on the Instagram and answer some of those questions when we're done too.
Love it. Appreciate it. Well, thank you. Thank you. And Lindsay also will be moderating our exclusive Facebook page, which is reserved for members of the online platform. Again, if you click the link below, thedolcediet.com, you join the 4-week or the 12-week program, you actually get invited to join our exclusive Facebook group, which is a support group, a global network of amazing people all following our plans are in there. I'm in there constantly. Moderating. Lindsay will now be in there also moderating, answering questions, cheering you on, helping with some life hacks here and there too. So that is a great value add, totally free, no cost for that. And it's just another way that we are here to support everyone. So Lindsay, thank you so much for being here. You are awesome. Community, thank you guys for being here. And until next time, boom.